Hello, cats and kittens. Hola, Jose Yoroshko. I'm back in the Crisis Corner on Manga Monday with my impressions of One Piece, Chapter 1147, which is entitled What We're Afraid of. Now, off the break, I have to say that this is a long time coming. I've said many times that the Straw Hat Pirates are top heavy in terms of fighters, which is to say they're strong one through four. The mid tier ain't bad, but the bottom tier is weak. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and the bottom tier is weak. That's not a huge problem unless you take into account who they're going up against, who they're going to be dealing with. We've had the introduction of the God's Knights, the true forms of the Gorosei. We already know the Blackbeard pirates were out there. Emu, people like that, and we're in the final saga. So that means they have to level up quick. I would have preferred that they had started leveling up in Whole Cake and people like, I mean, they did some growing in Wano, true, especially, but it was the top tier. The bottom tier did nothing. The bottom tier did nothing in Whole Cake. My man Brooke was the MVP in Whole Cake. He stood up. He was a G. I got you. But the bottom tier, I mean, look, put it this way. Put Blackbeard's crew in the same situation that the Straw Hats are in right now. We saw that Gunko basically mollywopped nearly a, a quarter of their crew. Off screen, they were beaten down. Basically, I believe they were tied up. Do you see that happening with Jesus Burgess and um, Van Auger and Shiryu tied up somewhere while she's standing there talking about talking trash? I don't. Honestly, I don't. I don't see that being the case, and I don't think that the Straw Hats are a crew to be feared. They're just to be feared from the top four combatants. So this is a much needed level up for them. The assumption is that in this arc, or in this arc, people like Robin, maybe Usopp, probably not Chopper. Don't get me started on Chopper, but at the bare minimum, not Robin and Usopp, I think will level up. Uh, I think Frankie might get a tech level up, which is way overdue now that he's been introduced to Vegapunk and his, satellites. Um, Jinbei's Jinbei. I mean, he's all right. He's fine. But that bottom tier, man. Anyway, let me get down my notes. First of all, my notes. Um, Saul's sacrifice. He hid Robin and Chopper, basically telling them lay low. He got blasted by Summers. Wasn't nothing he could do about it. He even recognized that Summers is one of the Holy Knights. He's outmatched. He doesn't even tell Robin, look for an opening and take Summers out. He's just saying, look, when you get the chance, get the kids and try to rescue them. But lay low right now because you're no match for them. All right. That's got to be traumatic for Robin because this man sacrificed himself for her once. He's doing it again. She's not going to sit still for that. Chopper, man, he's a plushie. He hasn't even transformed into a battle mode. You know what I'm saying? Hasn't even jumped into like brain point. to try to figure something out. He's just sitting there in Robin's arms weeping. Look, kill him off. If he's not, kill him off so they have a rallying cry. So, justice for Chopper. We're going to get revenge for him because the man hasn't done anything. He threw mitts against Queen in Wano. I'll give him credit for that, but that lasted for like a second and a half, and that was it. If he'd have had a fight, on his tier, on his level, that he could have won and leveled up. I'm talking about as a combatant. I don't care what he does as a doctor. I mean, honestly, they're gonna need morticians if they go up against Blackbeard and the like of the God's Knights at this point. Never mind a doctor. But anyway, Chopper is Chopper, man. Like I said, kill him off or have him throw hands. But all this crying nonsense, I take it from Usopp a little bit because that's his nature. But even at that, Usopp's got to level up too. But we'll get to that anyway. Jinbei, Brook, Usopp, they got fondled by Gunko. It's what it is. Jinbei being the level-headed, vet in there, he's not panicking. He realizes the situation and he's trying to think of something out of it while the rest of them do their little crying thing. That's fine. But I do respect Brook though. I mean, Brook, he always has a G moment, Gunko is basically saying, you're going to be my slave, whatever. He's like, yo, I'm pledged to Straw Hat Luffy. You might as well kill me. That's some real talk right there. That's real talk from a G. I've always respected Brook for that. Gags aside, whatever, Brook is a G. So I got no problem with that. The God's Knights. Uh, it's interesting. They feel comfortable declaring war, telling everyone in Elbaf that we've kidnapped your children and you are going to subjugate yourselves to us, burn down your library, stop all this nonsense about being cultured or whatever, and go back to being, straight up, hooligans or whatever for us. Or we're gonna do away with your children or whatever. They feel comfortable going to Elbaf. Three of them, mind you. Initially they were four. Shamrock got called back. He had to go dip out and do whatever. The Gorosei thought that that was an adequate amount of force to subjugate Elbaf. That's got me looking down on Elbaf. Elbaf was hyped up of being the land of giants, and it's true. They're under reform. They're thinking about being more refined and cultured and all of that. But something about that just sits wrong with me. The fact that you can send three people to subjugate that island, yet those three people don't want to pick a fight with Straw Hat Luffy, apparently out of some level of fear. They say they don't want, and, Summer's asked, are you going to, Gunko, is she going to, capture Jinbei, Brook, Nami, and Usopp and take them with him as hostages as well. And then I forget who somebody makes a point that we don't want to enrage a Yonko. Luffy is a Yonko, yes, but I don't think he's earned that level of fear. I would fear Blackbeard. I would definitely, the OGs, like, nobody wanted to piss off Big Mouth. Nobody wanted to piss off Whitebeard. Because those was cats, they had deep, sheer numbers, you don't want to mess with Big Mouth. Sheer numbers, you don't want to mess with Whitebeard. Never mind their devil fruits and the power that they had under them, their lieutenants, their captains, their division captains, sweet commanders, or whatever you want to call them. Same with my man Kaido. He had calamities. He had people under him that you just didn't really want to mess with. Luffy, I'd take a shot. He's got a grand fleet, but the grand fleet to me, Luffy has not yet earned that level of fear to the point where the same three people that you sent to subjugate a nation, you would not want them to earn his ire. It doesn't weigh right with me for some reason, but that's another issue. So, but they feel comfortable basically telling them, yo, we got your people, and either you do this or we're going to off your kids. So that's a little weird. And Oda went, in the course of the story, he went to the point where he's identifying who these children are, by name. There's panels basically breaking down who these kids are, who their parents are, whatever. I could have lived without those panels because I don't really care who those kids are. But Oda doesn't do anything without a purpose, so the identity of those kids is necessary. It's necessary to the plot, so I'm fine with that. And then you have the map that lays out the proximity of each of the combatants to each other, so it looks like Robin, Chopper, Scopper, Gaban are going to be dealing with Summers, which is fine with me because Robin has to level up, and getting armament hockey would help her fight Summers. Now, I don't think that she's definitely not going to 1v1 Summers. That's why she's paired up with Scopper. Scopper will carry the fight. She will activate her hockey in the heat of that battle. It may wind up being a draw, probably a draw, and then she'll probably solo him in the rematch. But I think Scopper's there to carry the bulk of that fight. Jinbei, Brook, Usopp, Nami fighting Gunko. I'm thinking the theories out there that Gunko is a clone of Jenny, Bonnie's mom, Kuma's wife. I think they were married. Yeah. So the prevailing theory is Brooks' music, which Gunko likes, is going to basically song no jutsu her and make her an ally or bring the clone. The clone has Jenny's characteristics, as we see the clones carry the characteristics of the people that they're cloned from. So maybe he'll song no jutsu her and make her an ally to some extent, and she'll betray the world government girl, say, be an ally. I can live with that. I can live with that. Which leaves Frankie, Ripley, and somebody else, I guess, going after Killingham, I guess. Uh, that's a possibility. So those battles, again, would have a purpose. Robin to level up her armament. Usopp, I think, Usopp's observation's been hanging in the wind for quite some time. I think maybe it would be useful against Gunko to help Jim. He would help Jinbei to fight her with his observation. I don't know. I mean, and yeah, but he's got some use will come out of that. I have no idea what Chopper's gonna do. Chopper, hopefully, I don't know. Chopper is a source of frustration to me. He's a plushie, and that's it. Somebody catches a cold or you know got a virus or something, he can step in. But he hasn't been a battle. He hasn't been a combatant since what? Uh, Fisherman Island. He do mention Fishman Island again. Like I said, he fought Queen. That's fine, but he hasn't had a serious fight since Ennis Lobby. To be honest with you, he's a non-factor at this point. So piss or get off the pot. I mean, I'm through with Chopper. I don't want no parts of it. And I think Scalper will help again. He's going to probably mentor Robin to get her hockey up for the rematch with Summers. Because when Robin gets armament hockey, she is going to be a problem. She will step into the tier of the Jinbeis. Matter of fact, she might eclipse Jinbei at that point and step into the fourth spot. I mean, she's going to be a problem. Yeah, and Nami, I don't know what Nami's gonna do, whatever. So Nami, well, she does. Nami's had her boo. She's had her level up with Zeus, and she'll be fine. She needs to just get a little bit more, get some of that Kool Aid out of her veins, and step up and be a soldier. Not against character, but just step up and do something. That's all I'm saying. And the monster trio are down in the underworld eating. When they step up stage, when they step onto the stage, it's over. At that point, it's done. I mean, because Luffy at this point is the strongest person in Elbath, I believe. At least tied with Scalper Gaban. But he's the strongest cat there. I think he can beat any of the God Knights flat. And Sanji and Zoro are right behind him. Maybe not real close, but pretty close. So when those three and Loki, if he's healed up enough, when they step on the stage, it should be over. And then they'll probably retreat, come back with some more people. Then we get round two. That's a guess. But I'm thinking Robin will be bloodlusted because of what happened to Saul. So she's going to come after Summers pretty hard. And I look forward to seeing that. So it's a good setup chapter. The battle's been engaged. We're going to get some pretty interesting encounters going forward. So I'm looking forward to the chapters coming up. Let me know what you think in terms of, who's gonna level up, what their level up might be. Will Chopper ever stop being a plushie and be an actual combatant in this crew? And do you think that the Straw Hats have earned the has Luffy earned the reputation of being feared on the level of Blackbeard, on the level of even when you look at my man Buggy, unbeknownst to the world, he's a bum, really, but he's got, Mihawk and Crocodile under him. Mihawk's the greatest swordsman in the verse, and Crocodile has headed a powerful organization. You know what I mean? He's not to be taken lightly. So really, if you didn't know any better, Buggy would probably have a leg up on Luffy if you didn't know that he was a bum. But I don't think the Straw has. I don't think Luffy has gained. His notoriety is high, but the fear factor to the point where you wouldn't kidnap his crew for fear of reprisal, I don't think is there. But that's just me. Let me know what you think. Otherwise, real good chapter, and I'm looking forward to what comes next. I think they have Golden Week coming up, so we might not get a chapter this week, but fine. Let me know what you think. Comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, stay loose. Hey folks, thank you for visiting Jose's Crisis Corner. And as you know, not only am I the host of Jose's Crisis Corner, but I am also a writer of comics. I write the Intrepid and Shonen Double Feature series for C3 Comics. And if you'd like to learn more about this series and support the work that I do, please visit my Patreon page. You'll find lots of information about my characters and the books that we produce, and I hope to get your support. Thank you as always for visiting the Crisis Corner, and until next time, stay loose.